Well, welcome everybody. This is Jeff Finn,
Hi,
CEO
everybody.
of RealNex, and I've got Tim Craig on the line. Tim, are you there now?
Great. Okay, here we go. We did a lot of really cool things this month. So I'm going to start with something I did in the CRM. It's a takeoff of what I did in the desktop a long time ago, but I've taken it way beyond what the desktop can do. So in this case, you're seeing the company table. And I know that there's a company out there called RealNex, and I know that Jeff Finn is part of RealNex, but I know there's a lot more than just Jeff. Well, it just so happens that in this particular case, he's the only one in this office. But under the contact tab, I can say not just this record, but I want to see all of the contacts that work for RealNex. So by selecting organization, I'm not just seeing this one company, I'm seeing all three of these offices. And you notice how I saw all the people that are in those offices. So it's a way to easily find people at an organization or a subsidiary or a specific office. But here's what's new. I'm going to go to the Properties tab. And this shows me all of the properties that this particular office owns. There's none. But I know that RealNex owns properties. So I'm going to switch it from this record to the organization, which would be all of the RealNex offices. And it shows me 2 properties that they own, that's great. I could never do that in the desktop. I know they own more than that. So what happened was I probably linked a contact as the owner of the property. Sometimes I do that because I want to talk to the contact whenever I'm talking about the property. So even though the contact doesn't actually own anything, they're just the person that's in charge of that particular building, I link them. And what's cool about this new feature is you can not only ask for what the company owns, but you can also ask for anything that a contact who's associated with a company is the owner of. So notice here next to properties, it says organization subsidiary, and it has a little button that says contact. That means I don't care if I put a contact in as the owner, they still work for RealNex. RealNex still owns the property. I want to see every property that RealNex owns, no matter who I put in as the owner. As long as they work for RealNex, I can see them all. All these fields are editable. So if I see something's wrong, like building size, I can just click it and I can change the building size to the right size. And all these fields are the same way. We're in the process of doing that right now. That's live. That's in production right now. You can use it. We're in the process of doing the same thing for spaces, the exact same thing. So you'll be able to say, show me all of the properties that this company is all the spaces this company's a tenant in, and go ahead and show me any contact that works for this company who's listed as the tenant. So for tenant rep guys, this is going to be a gold mine. Anybody, no matter what their relationship is, as long as they're part of the company, you can see it in one screen. You can also go to those properties if you want to, so you can just jump to all those properties, and it's sort of a filter that will just list, here's all the properties, here's all the spaces that company owns, and do things with that. Something else that I worked really hard on is what we call inline editing. So let me clear this filter out. Inline editing is what you saw me do a second ago, where I was looking at properties a company owned and I changed the square footage. That's available in the fields in the company record, and it's now available in the fields for a contact record. So you can also, if you want to, go to contacts and update right from the list. You don't even have to go to the record anymore. So let's take a look at something that's kind of neat. I'm going to put this away for a second. And let me see, I don't see the columns I want to see. I'm going to change the columns just because I want to show you something kind of neat. So I got address, city, zip code, latitude, longitude. Okay, those should be good. So I'm looking at this list, and as I go down the list, I notice that the address is missing here. So I'm going to click in that field, and it lets me put in the address. But what's really neat about it is it lets me put in the address from Google. So as soon as I start typing the address, Google comes up and says, is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? 6336 Green. There it is. Now watch what happens on the fields across the screen. When I picked that, notice what happened? It gave me the state, the city, the zip code. It even gave me the latitude, longitude, and time zone, just by changing that one thing. So if you're in a record, and somebody said the font's too small, so I'll make it bigger, but unfortunately we'll lose what I want to try to show you, but I'll do that, make it bigger. Notice how it flagged all these fields for me. The little star and a triangle is telling me that these are ready to be changed. And as soon as you move to the next record, I'm going to save them. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to move to the next record. Or up here at the top, there's a button that says save, and there's one that says revert. Revert will undo whatever changes you made. So if you accidentally messed up, you can still undo it until you either move off the record or until you hit save. But those will pop up as soon as you start typing in a record like this. As I said, you don't have to hit save. You can just move off the record and we'll save it automatically. Or you can revert, and that just pulls all the changes that you made out. That is available in contacts and in companies right now. And we're working on properties. So properties will be coming out sometime in probably the next 10 to 12 days. You'll be able to edit properties inline as well, which is just going to be a huge difference in the amount of time you spend when you're trying to make updates. We have a lot of people that use recurring events, and if you're cloud only, you can do recurring events in the cloud. If you're a desktop user syncing, you can't do recurring events in the cloud. They clash with the desktop. So if you're still using a desktop and you haven't moved to all cloud, you can only do recurring events in the desktop. But let me show you some of the things that we did for recurring events, because it's just simple stuff, but it does make a difference. Right now, when you're in here setting up a date and a time for an event, like let's say I make the event, this recurring event's going to start on the 5th, and it's going to start at 10 a.m. and go to 11 a.m. and it's going to end on a certain date too. So I'm going to change that, say it's going to end on June 24th. When I go to recurring, it automatically figures out what you put in. So it automatically changed the time to 10. It automatically made it 1 hour, put the start date in. The default is no end date, but if I pick end by, it automatically picked up the end date I put in. And if I go to one of these like weekly, it automatically figured out that you wanted it on Tuesday. Now you can change that, but it figured out you started this on Tuesday and you said it's recurring. Or if you went to monthly, we figured out it's the first Tuesday of the month, so you could select that. It's on the 5th day of the month. Again, these are all changeable. All I did in this really is just took your lead on what you filled out on the front screen, so you wouldn't have to go to as much trouble filling in every single box and changing everything. In my case, I couldn't remember if it was the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday, so I had to go back to the screen and look at what date it was. This just makes it easier. Other than that, it's the same. It just creates a recurring event. We just made it easier. Something I did 100 years ago in contacts, and someone asked about it, was if somebody has a nickname, like let's say this guy, Aaron, and Aaron's, let me edit his record and show you what I mean on the editing thing. Here in his fields where you have first name, last name, and all of that, there's a greeting field. And this guy's nickname is Red. So I put that in there so that everyone on my team knows when he calls You call him Red, it means you're a friend of his or you know him. If you call him Aaron, then you probably don't know who he is. So we actually went to trouble to find these guys and figure out what their nicknames were and put it in here. And so what happens now, you notice, and this is in production, if the greeting is different than first name, we'll put the greeting in parentheses, just as sort of a reminder that this guy goes by Red, but his name is Aaron. So that's in production, and if you start filling those in, or if you have filled them in the past, you'll start seeing them all coming up. Those are some things that are in right now, and some of the things that we're working on. Duplicate checker, believe it or not, we show the first 100 duplicates you have, the first 100 duplicate groups, not records, because that could be 1,000 records, but the first 100 duplicate groups. There are people out there who are saying, I have more than 100. How do I get to the next 100? I was like, you have more than 100 duplicates? Why don't you clean them up? Anyway, they didn't want to clean them up. So now on Monday, the duplicate checker will have buttons for pagination. So if you have more than 100 groups of duplicates, you can go to the next page and fix those, or go to the next page and fix those. Actually, that was something that got asked for about 10 different people. So I guess it's common for people to have that many duplicates, and they don't want to get rid of them for some reason or another. Let's go take a look at my new project. All right, so this is the investment analysis package, and this is where you put in all of your information for if you want to sell a property. And people think you have to fill all this in. You don't have to fill in any of it. You can just go straight to the output tab and make a flyer. There's no reason to fill any of this in if you don't want to, but you can. So this page, we added something for people mostly who sell land. Land guys don't always have addresses. So you notice on the screen here, there's a button that says geocode. I'll circle it for you. That's new. And if you click that, you can put in the latitude and longitude, so you can get very specific. If you want to find latitude and longitude, it's pretty easy to do. Google Maps has it. So if you go to maps.google.com, right click on the little pin and say, what's here? It'll show you the longitude and latitude right at the bottom of the page where I circled it there. And you can just copy that and put it into the fields. So you don't need to do it. When you type in an address, we automatically find it in Google. We automatically plot it for you. But if you're trying to be really specific, sometimes Google just isn't really great. And this is a way for you to just pinpoint where exactly is, especially, like I say, if you're doing land, that's a real problem for land guys. Let's take a look at the output page. That's where I've been spending most of my time. And that's where we're getting most of our customers now. Our new customers are coming from other places that build packages and moving over to RealNex. And I think you're going to see why. This is such a powerful thing now. If you haven't seen it in a while, you'll be shocked. First of all, we've added the ability for you to put in your own disclaimer. That's only about a month old. So from the settings account menu, you can go to the company tab and put in your own disclaimer, and that'll show up on every page where there's a disclaimer showing. It used to be you had our generic one, but now you can put in your own company disclaimer and it'll show on every package that you make. So once again, that's under settings and account settings and my company. Cover pages, we have a lot of cover pages. If you've been hanging with me for a while, you keep seeing me increase the number of free cover pages you get. And people were saying there's so many of them, I can't remember what's what anymore. So we changed the look of that. And when you select cover pages now, you'll get the title like you did before, but we'll also show you a graphic representation of every cover page. So you can just go through the list. We also have two different views. The view you saw was just thumbnails. This view is thumbnails, but it also gives you the name of the report for people who like to see the name, and then it gives you a pretty nice representation of what the page will look like. We had people also say that I really prefer portrait views or landscape views or my custom views. So you can now do a filter on your views right here, and you can say I only want to see portrait pages. It just does a filter and takes out everything except portrait pages. And then there's still too many pages, so people said, could you let me search? So I can go to the search bar and say, give me all the pages that have 3 agents in them. And then it will just bring up only the pages that have 3 agents or highlights or whatever you type in that's in the title. It'll just limit it to that. We're trying to make it robust, so you have a lot of choices, but we're also trying to make it easy for you to find things and not have to go through. I think there's 68 pages now, cover pages that you get for free. Along with that, the same vein, I decided I would make a setting for favorites. So you notice there's a star in each one of these things. If you check that star, it moves that cover page into your favorites. And the favorites are at the top of all the pages. So when you first come into cover pages, at the very top, you'll see your favorites. That's just a quick way to say, I really like these 4 out of the however many you have. And you don't have to go searching for them every time. They'll always be right there at the top. You get a graphic representation of them so you can pick the one you want. And I don't know how many people know this, but we will make custom pages for you. And we'll take one of our existing pages, like let's say you like one of these, but you want to do something a little different with it. You like this one in the middle, but you only want 2 pictures, not 3. We can take one of these custom pages and relatively inexpensively tailor it for you, and that will show up as your page, as one of your custom pages that you can use anytime you want. So if you do see a page you kind of like and you think, I could just tweak this a little bit, it would be perfect for me. You can call and just say, I want to get a custom page made. We also will do them from scratch. It's more expensive that way because it's a lot more work for us, but we'll do any kind of a custom page that you want. Just call in and say that I want a page, and which one do you want and what do you want it to look like, and we'll do it for you. Let's go take a look at the new page that I created. This is a really, really great page. We call them customizable pages. Customizable pages are pages you design yourself. And I'll show you how to do one. First thing you do is you click in the customizable page area and drag the page and put it on the plate where you want it to be. So I'm going to drag this page out of there, a new page, and I'm going to drop it on the screen, and it comes up looking like that. When you select at the top, let's go back and look at that. I did that kind of quick. At the very top, it says select layout. And when you click that, it gives you a bunch of different layouts that I've designed. And these are just boxes that you're going to put something in. So in this case, I've got a full left-hand column of the entire page. I could put fields in there, summary of fields. I could put available spaces. I could put a bullet list, paragraphs, whatever I want. And then on the right, I have 2 smaller boxes. So you just go through these until you find the one you want. And here I've got 4 boxes. I'm just going to start with that. Then you add what we call widgets. This is the list of widgets that you can add right now. You can add a map, a paragraph, bullet list, photo, text box, property fields. Those come directly from your properties, so you don't have to fill anything in. You just pick the fields you want, and it comes right from the database. Available spaces, same thing. It comes right from the database. Property description, that pulls the description from your database, and overview and location overview. Those are all pulled. So I'm going to just design this page real quick so you can see how easy it is to do. Stick a photo there, put a map here. I'll add some paragraphs down here, and I'll add a bullet list on the right. Okay, now you have to fill this in. What I'm going to show you now doesn't happen automatically, duh. But just so you didn't think that this all of a sudden just appears, I just typed all that in so I wouldn't have to sit here while you're on the screen. But look at what I can do. I've decided using the menu, I've decided I want 3 paragraphs. So I can do as many paragraphs as I want just by changing the number right here from 3 to 2 to 5 to whatever. I can change the font size. I can change the color. I can change the color of the text. Here I've changed the color of the title, but not the text, to blue. Here I've changed the background of the title to navy and the color white. I can make it justified, left, right, center. I can remove the title if I don't want to have a title on it. And I can, of course, change the widget out to something else if I want to. Very powerful, very easy to use, and you really are designing your own page right now. For bullet lists, same thing. I can have as many bullet lists as I want. I can change the bullet type. Here I've done a numbered system. Here I'm doing lettered system. And here's the little circle thing. Change the font size, change all that stuff. It's the same thing as I just showed you. For the map, you can pick what type of a map it is. You can zoom in and out. You can even zoom all the way into 3D. So if you're trying to get actually a picture of a building and you don't have a photo, you can zoom in on this and it sort of gives you a pretty good idea of what the thing looks like in 3D. You can also change out these widgets. So let's say that I don't want to use a photo here. Here it's showing you how you can resize a photo and move it around. But let's say I want to put a field list in here. I can just get rid of that widget and change it to a field list. Now this is not something that I did offline. This is what happens. It pulls up your set of fields, but these are just a couple of the fields. You've got all the fields available. So you can switch these out, any fields you want to put in there, any order you want to put them in, and you can change the text in these fields and it doesn't mess up your database. So if I had price in there and I didn't want to tell them the price, I could change the price and say call for information, but that won't mess up my database. That'll just be on my flyer. So it's really customizable. I'm really proud of it. We've worked so hard on this, and it's better than the other stuff out there, and it's cheaper, along with the fact that it works with your database, which is great, and with our marketing arm. You can also change the title of the page. Just type in a new title. Now, I had a few people complain. Oh, wait, there's one other thing I forgot about. You can also add links. So here on this photo, I'm going to make it a link, and I'm going to tell it where to go. So I could have this link to my, what do you call those things, those planes that fly around, camera planes, a droid, whatever those are. I could do a video of that. I could put the link in here and then just say on my picture, click here to watch a video. Or if you have one of our 3D renderings, if you haven't seen those on RealNex, it's right on the webpage. You can go to the webpage and ask for a 3D tour. They'll do a tour of your building and they'll create it from almost nothing. Give them a PDF or give them a napkin with a drawing on it. They'll make the building. They'll let you go inside the building. You can walk through the building. You can see it change lights. What happens if it's raining or it's snowing? And it's very inexpensive. So anyway, we support links on pictures and on text widgets, which is the only ones that make sense really. And you'll notice when I let this run, as soon as I put the thing in here, realnex.com, then I click on the picture, it goes to realnex.com. So it's just a way for you to take them somewhere else if you have more information. If you have a brochure and you want to say, go click here to go get my brochure, that kind of stuff. And that's available on any photo, on any page, not just the cover page. The interior pages have the same ability. You can add a link to all of those. If you want to remove the custom page, this one really hurt. Let's say that I designed this whole package and I spent 40 minutes making a custom page, and then my owner calls and says, I want you to send out a 2-page flyer on the property. So you have to get rid of your customizable page. And when you did that, I put up a warning saying, if you get rid of this page, you're going to lose it. And some of my customers lost it and called me and said, what's wrong with you? I spent all this time on this thing and now I'm going to lose it. So what happens now is if you try to get rid of a customizable page, for whatever reason, you just go up and you, let me see if I've got it in the video here. Up there where it says Three Flags Plaza, I'm going to get rid of it. But notice it put it down here in the customizable page section. So I didn't lose it. I don't lose it anymore. And if I want to bring it back, I can just drag it out of the bottom like that, drop it, and it's right back again. So you won't lose your customizable pages anymore. Where we're going with this, it's not done, and it probably won't be done until end of May. You'll not only be able to save a customizable page in a proposal like I just did there, but you'll also be able to declare it as global. What that means is you can create customizable pages, make them global, and they'll be available in any proposal you create. Every proposal you open up will have a tile section called customizable pages, and it will start with all of the pages that you've designed yourself, and you can drop them on any property, and they'll come up with whatever widgets you put in them. If you've put text in them, they'll have the text in them. So in this case, if this was a global widget and I went and got another property, totally different property, and I added this widget, it would come up and the first square would be a photo. The second one would be a map, a paragraph, and bullet lists. Now there wouldn't be any bullets in there unless you put text in there, but that you wouldn't do that. You just add a bullet list that had 2 lists in it. You'd add a paragraph that had 3 paragraphs in it, and you'd make the titles blue or something. But you wouldn't probably put text in there until you had the property, because obviously that's going to change. The map will be automatically right because it bases it off the address of the property. So that'll just fill in every time at the right zoom level for you. And the photo will come from whatever your first photo is in your library. You can change it. But it's just a great way for you to be able to design your own packages and not even have to use any of my pages if you don't want to. Although the cover pages are pretty beautiful, you probably do want to use those. Let's take a look at lease analysis, because that one I just started working on this month, and it's not in production. What's in production is what we had, the last 6 months or so. But what I'm doing with lease analysis is I'm converting it to what I just showed you in investment analysis. Some of it is done, but most of what I'm going to talk about is we're still developing it, and it'll probably be 2 weeks. So one thing that is done is I've added the thumbnails for the cover pages. I've added the ability to make them favorites. So when you do a lease analysis, you'll have your favorite cover pages right at the top. Same thing I already went over. I'm not going to go over it again. It works exactly the same as what I showed you in investment analysis. All of these pages, we're rewriting every one of them. Change the font. It's a much cleaner font. We're changing the highlighting, so certain things get highlighted on the page so the customer doesn't have to find it. For those of you who go to Jeff Fisher's webinars, Dr. Fisher goes all over the world doing real estate analysis classes and super brain about how to analyze everything. He's rewritten the formulas. We're including in the next release in about 2 weeks. We've included all of the different types of comparisons for lease comparisons, types of things like effective rent, net effective rent, USB RSF or USF RSF, all of those calculations that don't mean much to me. But if you're doing leasing and you're trying to compare leases, and we have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of that going on with COVID, everybody's going to try to be renegotiating their leases, and they're going to want you to show me 5 leases side by side. I want to see what I'm paying. I want to see all of that information, and I want you to explain it to me if I don't understand it. So that's what we're doing right now, and you're going to see pieces of it coming out every couple of days, but it won't all be finished for about 2 weeks. Especially the CCIM guys who study this stuff all the time, they're going to really dig it because the formulas are exact, and there's a lot of information that just wasn't there before. We're also doing the same things that I showed you in investment analysis for the photos, the maps, the aerials. Notice now the map is full page instead of just a tiny bit of the page. You can see that right on the map, I can change the satellite to terrain or a map. I can scroll in and out, all that stuff that I just showed you. I can move the map around so I can get it in a different position. And I can also use my own image. So let's say that this map isn't doing it for me. I have an image I made. I can click the button at the top that says use my image, pick an image, and that's what I'll get for my map. So you can do that for every lease. If you had 5 leases, each one of those 5 has a map, an aerial, plans, PDF, and photos. You don't have to use any of them, but you can use as many as you want. And you can also change the title of the page. Up there where in the current one it says maps, aerials, and plans. Now it just says map by default, but you can go into that section and type in whatever you want to type in. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Okay, there's a lot of questions. About time, that's a feature I've been waiting for. I don't know which one it was, but you're welcome. Are you adding the ability to select 2 contacts from a list and merge? We probably will. Right now we have the duplicate checker, but you can't just take like any 2 contacts and merge them in the CRM. We do have it on our list of things that we'd like to do. Awesome. I don't know what that's for, but thank you. Can you create a customizable retail map that has retailers' logos on top of their locations in an aerial map? Yeah, we have a business map. Let's see if I can load up the software and give you a quick example of it. When you're in a property, over here on the left, under maps and aerials, I've already got it in this one somewhere. There's a thing called business map. Maybe I don't have it in here. No. So business map is under maps and aerials. You just drag it and put it where you want it to go. And you can move this thing out of the way so it's not on the map. And then you can just drop things on here. So like this is the logo for Nike. I can change this to a specific type, or I can change it to nothing. If I change it to nothing, then I can do a keyword. So I can look for outlets or whatever. I just type in a word and I can tell it how far to search within. For this thing, I'll just do restaurants again because I do eat, so at least I know restaurants. So if I put Subway on here, just click it. Subway will come up and it'll come up with the logo if we have it. If we don't have the logo, you can add your own. We have them for some things, other things we don't. Applebee's has a logo. You can drag them around and they just point. I can also merge them. So I can take Subway, it's in the same shopping center as Applebee's, drop it on Applebee's, and it becomes a single thing like that. I can also go into one of these things and change the name of it. Let's see if I got something else in here that I recognize. Wiener Schnitzel, I know that one. Let's do Wiener Schnitzel. So I don't like the way it's spelled, or I don't like the logo, even though it's the right one. If I click on it, it changes over here, and I can do all kinds of things. I can decide if I want to show the logo or not, if I want to show the name or not, if I want to change the name, if I want to change the color of the balloon, if I want to change the size of the line, if I want to change how much padding's in it, yeah, all kinds of junk. If I want to underline it, bold, italics, if I want to put in my own custom logo, I don't like the one you gave me, I can click custom and pull up my own, and it will save that and remember it. When you add the thing again on another map, whatever logo you put in there, it will remember it. So it's very robust, and it's called Business Map. You can change the map, terrain, and all the standard stuff you could normally do. You can zoom in and out. How do you make the global page? How do you make the custom page global? It's not done yet. It will just be an option when you save the customizable page to make it global, but it's not done yet. It'll be done in May. We're working on it now. Thank you. I love you, CCIM guys, too. You're great. Keep yelling at me about my math. Massive improvements overall. Thank you. Can I copy a property in a space and paste it in to save time? I don't have a way to copy a property yet. a number of people have asked me that. I'm not sure why you would copy a property, because there's only one property with the property, right? You can't have two properties with the same address. But I have been asked about, can I copy things? I've just never written anything to do it, but I will. I'll probably call you and ask you why you would copy a property, so I can understand what the reason is. Excellent stuff as always. Thank you. Thanks. Great stuff. Thank you. And this, oh, look at this. This is pretty cool. I've got a bunch of different lists that I use, columns, and I've saved all the column names. So I've got one for tenants. This is the tenant one. And because of inline editing now, I can just go right into these fields, and if I see something's out of order, or if I see something's missing, like this guy's rent is missing, I can just click it and put it right in there. How cool is that? I wish I could have done this in the desktop, but you can't. So anyway, just blows my mind how easy this is now to edit these things, and especially when you're used to looking at data in a grid, because you're looking for missing things. You're looking for things that are out of place. So you sort tenants by square footage, and you see a guy that's in 24,000 square feet paying $12 a foot, and you see a guy in 1,000 square feet paying $11 a foot, and you scratch your head saying, how is this guy paying 11 and the guy with 24,000 is paying 12? That guy, I need to call that guy and fix him. You see that because it's in a grid, and it just like a sore thumb sticks out when you see the grid. And I could do that in the desktop, but what I couldn't do was when I saw something and said, why is this guy paying $12? And the guy next to me says, he's not. That's a mistake. He's paying $10.50. Okay, I would have had to go in the desktop, go find the space, all that. I could just change it right here without going anywhere. It's really, it'll blow your mind when you use it. It really will. You'll just be so excited. Thank you all for hanging around. Be safe. Use our product. Talk it up. We're trying to sell more and more product and take everybody else out of the market. Help us out. Have a great week. Bye.